Here, we continue with the play of the God Kings, and this is turn 6. Turn 6 is interesting because this is the turn the Mitanni disappear, and they get replaced by the Assyrians. And I've already gone through some of the sorting activity and thrown some of the Mitanni in here, but you might say, well, what happens? Well, according to our conversion here at the very beginning, the following changes: all PC markers and garrisons are replaced with Assyrian PCs. Okay, so there's a Mitanni marker in each of these, and now there's an Assyrian marker in each. No garrison. Great. And as a while I was looking for this rolling, I found another little thing. This hole in the Hatti that they don't control. Well, they're still penalized for it, so there's no real advantage to that having stopped being Egyptian. I don't know what it means for it not to be Egyptian anymore. Anyway, let's see what we got here. And other than that, well, all the Mitanni come off the board, including, and this is kind of wacky, this. I'm not sure where the Assyrians go in the initiative. Again, not explained. I'll leave them in the same place. Likewise, I'm not sure what happens with their card. Not explained. I'll leave it in the same condition with the card used marker. Some of their other stuff does go on the board, however. They're going to get Ashur-uballit, and we have a leader who can't do anything. Accident of the counter mix. Mitanni guy who just can't show up because he's out of the game at this point. So we've got Ashur-uballit, and he's awesome, right? He's a 1/3. He's almost as good as our Thutmose. All right, and we're going to get 3 divisions and 4 chariots at Assur. I don't know what division to leave out. Definitely want to give them Nineveh and Assur. And now the others are Arbales, which is there. And this, which I think says that, but I can't tell because my eyes aren't that good. And those will be showing up here. I'll use the chart for that. What's interesting is it doesn't state a garrison in each of Assur and Nineveh. Hey, why didn't you tell us that before? Where you specifically say no garrisons. And they don't tell us what to do with our generals or warlords, but my assumption is they're going to be with the king there. Again, that's probably pretty reasonable. But otherwise, I'm going to come back, clean the Mitanni off. Whatever victory points they have, I assume the Assyrians carry over. Again, a lot of stuff's not specified in here, which is okay. And I'll finish up setting up the other people for this turn, along with their production. The Assyrians, and this is covered in the errata, do not get production on the turn they come into the game. Okay. Looking briefly at the points that people have, the Egyptians have 8 of each, including their off-map stuff, and the Kassites are down to 5 of each. You see this big hole in the middle, this vacuum that's going to get filled up. There's no question there. The only issue is, how does it get filled? The Assyrians kind of make nice with the Kassites, which they probably will, because point-wise, they're in pretty good shape and in competition with Egypt more, and are probably willing to expand in that northern direction and let the Kassites fight the Egyptians, but they may get an advantage out of that. The Kassites, that is. And the Hatti here are at 7 tribute, 6 wood. We'll see how that all spends out. I don't see any alliances really being made here. It looks like, well, the Assyrians don't have any points, from what I understand by the ruling. So, and I forgot to give my rulers, which are going to change too. We got a Amenhotep. Yeah, right. Amenhotep, who's not exactly your best leader in Egypt. And a replacement with who? King Tut. And then over here, looks like this is a king, so he'll replace him. He's very good. And I guess he'll be lasting for 2 turns automatic. That's pretty awesome. We got this already. Yeah, we got a new king here too. And a fairly good one here, although replacing equivalent. Alright. Well, we'll spend those points and see what happens. Okay, so we put the first round down, and what do we do? The Egyptians opened up by swinging up into Ugarit. The Assyrians pushed down into Rafah, just, absorbing that Mitanni territory, really. The Hatti went back, grabbed the area that they've been being penalized for, and are moving to get their army together. They're seeing that they're going to be probably attacking the Egyptians here. Now, when we walk over to the Babylonians, they didn't feel like they're capable of facing the main Egyptian army with their actually fairly weak army after last turn. So instead, they spent a 1-point card to just grab Carchemish here. And that gives them the province for now. There's no guarantees. But if they've got another point card, they can flip that over to a garrison and make their position a lot stronger. But somebody could just walk in and take it from them. Alright, onward. And at the end of 2, we see further consolidation going on. The Egyptians spent a card to grab a garrison, and the Babylonians did the same. In the middle, though, the Assyrians stretching out, moving into the Mitanni home area, which is no longer a home area at all, but it's an important province. It has value to certain cards, and, as far as they're concerned, they own it. This is kind of their agreement with the Babylonians. And then moving to the Hatti, well, they finished off taking Kizuana and have gathered their forces for a possible blow against the Egyptians. They've got a problem, which is they're holding a card that they would love to be able to play. But unfortunately, they've got this in the way. The card is this Trade Master. If they own Amaru, Ugarit, and Carchemish, they'll get 3 victory points. If they could hold it, they could probably do it over the next 2 turns. But getting all of this, even with that good leader, they just don't have the time. Maybe they shouldn't have worried about Kizuatna. But they don't have much of an army, so they're really not able to take the Egyptians on full out. They can probably take Ugarit. They can probably take Carchemish. They can't take the Egyptians and the Babylonian armies on, though, unless those two fight each other. Anyway, keep moving on with the 3rd round. And as we finish the 3rd round, what do we see? The Egyptians still fortifying. Remember which one? Maybe they took the other Ugarit one. Yeah, I think so. And then we go to the Assyrians, who finish off their control. Big 3-point card. Good card, by the way. They blew the Amaru revolts, which would have been a valuable thing against the Egyptians. But it was 1 card play that gave them Mitanni. They don't need big cards to move their armies, so they have the opportunity to play those for political reasons, which works very well for them. They grabbed an entire province with 1 card, basically. Over to the Hatti, they sliced down, grabbing Ugarit province. The Egyptians really don't have the force to stop them in the north, but now they're kind of cut off. Now they can pull down, there's no question, except they might get intercepted. But the siege was successful of Ugarit, and the Hatti are pretty close to taking that one. They spent the card that's kind of driving them that way, the Trade Master card. They decided, I'm not going to be able to hold it, and I'm not going to be able to get both provinces in the amount of actions that I have. So the hell with it, I'll use that first. My other cards are better. And then we end with the Kassites, who've grabbed the middle area in Carchemish moved back here so that they can grab Mari province. They want to make sure they have that. Right now what we have is kind of this interesting little buffer between the Assyrians and the Babylonians, but that probably won't last. Well, we have a battle. The Hatti were kind of doing a kind of cheating that I like to do, not against the rules, but they have so many movement points. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, get their battle, get an extra spot down in Amaru, help them moving forward in the future. Well, as they moved into here, King Tut intercepted them. And by the way, there's a little yellow thing here that indicates he's a successor, which means you have to put him in the little box there. I just realized what that stood for. I didn't even notice it. It looks like, I don't know, just weird marking. Since he had slightly more chariots, he was able to get a bonus on the interception, and he succeeded. And now we're going to have a battle here. He's got first shot at the chariot charge. We'll play some cards, see what happens. He's going to have the bonus in terms of he's got more divisions than he's got the defensive bonus, but he's going to be one short still because of the good leadership of the Hittite general. Well, Tutankhamun played a fierce charge, giving him a bonus on the charge attack, and protection of Ra, giving him +1 in battle. Ended up a little bit one of those close battles that I keep complaining about, 21-19. But there's no pursuit or anything. Ends up driving the Hittites back. They could have had a success at Aleppo. Instead, they've been stopped and are not going to gain anything. They've taken Ugarit away from the Egyptians, but they're not going to be able to take this because there's an army there. So if they fight a battle, they won't be able to do a siege there. Prior to that, let's go to the Assyrian turn. The Assyrians kind of blackmailed the Sumerians. The Egyptians increased, they have their royal guard in here. The Assyrians, though, said, hey, you know, I don't know what I'm going to do, but Carchemish looks really interesting, and I don't want to move yet against the Hatti. I tell you what, I've got this royal betrothal. I get 2 victory points, you get 1. It's good for both of us, and then I don't have to attack you. And the Babylonians kind of caved into that. They probably should have held out and said, well, what am I going to get out of it? You know, you can't just take nothing, you know, get nothing, or get something for nothing. You should at least make a trade of a wood point or something for it. But it's tough to see. But there's some goodwill there, which at least from the Assyrians towards the Babylonians. The Babylonians feel a little pressured by this, so there might be a tendency to aim the other way. All right, well, I've still got to finish with the Babylonians. And they finish off with a big 3-point card to take the rest of Mari. They're not moving against Amaru yet. They want to, but they need to get their own points, both economic and victory point wise, before they take on someone who, you know, may be a serious problem for them. All right, on to the 5th and final round in this turn. So Tut opened things up by slicing up here through Nahrin, avoiding getting intercepted there, and then coming through with the additional troops. Enough, the Hittites actually stood their ground, because otherwise Ugarit becomes Egyptian, which they didn't want to have happen, but instead the Egyptians end up winning a battle. That's 2 victory points for battles, as well as getting the province. Maybe they shouldn't stand their ground. But the thing is, the Hatti have a good leader. They actually were at -2 to the Egyptian die roll. They had a 2-point swing there. Anyway, through the rest of them. And finishing up things up, the Assyrians move up into Ishua. They haven't really done anything there. And the Hatti played the Salhan card, which gave them 3 of their troops recovered. That's important because next turn their forces would be at half strength. They're going to have to face the Egyptians, and it looks like they will. They want all of their army in place. They're a little worried about the situation with the Assyrians. The Assyrians have cut a deal with the Babylonians. Well, there's no way through except through Hatti territory, and they don't like that. Maybe they can come to a deal with the Egyptians and say, look, I'll attack the Assyrians, you deal with the Babylonians, and we'll stop this foolishness. I'll give you back, whatever. I'll stop fighting in Ugarit. You can give me Mukish, and we're all happy, right? Maybe. We'll see. Anyway, it's time to count points. See what happens. So the points for the turn, the Egyptians get a big 15. Remember, 2 of them they already had, but that's going to put them in first place, I think, for the turn. Over here, ooh, almost there. The Babylonians are at 14. Nice positioning, not having to fight anyone. And they're pulling second, and actually more points than the Egyptians had. The Assyrians are only at 9, but they had to rebuild their whole country. I think they're in last place on this one, so they'll go first pick and probably go last. And then over here, 12 points for the Hatti. They've expanded and taken quite a large chunk of territory. It's not clear how long that's going to last if Egypt and if they can't come to an agreement with Egypt, because Egypt's got a powerful army. Of course, the Babylonians are there as well. Okay, so we'll just order this. The Hatti. I want to go late. The Babylonians. I mean, chances are you want to go as late in the turn as you can. It looks like everybody's going to be discarding cards. I don't know, to the Kassites. They've got some cool cards, but they don't want to hold 1-point cards for battle. And everybody else actually has to give up their cards. Well, no auto victories. Let's keep going. This one's going to load up.